Hey there, and welcome to the final session of the day, our wrap up that will be an overview of the content that we were able to show today and what the roundtables are going to look like next week. Douglas, how did the day go for you?
Pretty good. A little busy. Lots going on. I know we had a few technical, hiccups, but really appreciate the patience from everyone. I think we got everything, sorted, and it was, for me, I learned a lot attending a lot of the different sessions. I mean, some great tips on so many things, like from photos to kind of Jeremiah's session on a lot of tips on tour conversion, which is, I think, really interesting. Few sessions I got to catch tomorrow, but yeah, what about you, Bruce?
Well, this is the first time we did a master class, obviously, and I thought it was really interesting that we could go so deep with each of these topics, and then we'll continue that next week. And the presenters were fantastic. I also didn't get to see them all, but the ones I was able to watch really all were fantastic in their own way. Really looking forward to the feedback from the presenters themselves, as well as the attendees about what they thought, because this was pretty different compared to the way we typically run our virtual events and our live events. I guess it would be similar to the workshops that we do at our live events, which hopefully we'll be doing again in Orlando.
Well, the one big, difference is, and this is something that it's been interesting to see since we first started Arrival in 2017. And some of the first sessions that we had were things like, kind of content marketing 101 or kind of distribution 101. Because what we saw at a lot of other travel industry conferences is, we talked about this at the opening with Mitch, is there'd be a lot of these sessions at, say, travel conferences, but they would really be geared towards, say, if you're a destination marketer or if you're a director of marketing at a hotel. But the needs of those organizations are very different from tour and activity operators. And then, so we did this at the first event at Arrival, but then what we pretty quickly saw is, as our industry has grown and matured and our operator community has become more knowledgeable, now we got to go deeper. So we have to do, Facebook 101 and 201 and 301 and go deeper on retargeting and a whole range of topics. So this has been, I think, a long time coming for us at Arrival, but excited to kick it off.
Yeah, that's really from day one been our challenge. Like, what level do we have workshops at? For just that reason, because there's such a dichotomy, differences of what people already know about these things. So hopefully the master classes were able to, get to that 101 level, but get through it really quickly. And, there were a few that were going over my head as far as what the people were talking about. So that was great that we were able to do that. And the chats were super active. People were asking questions. I think, some of our sessions were recorded, and those were fantastic. We always talk about, should we record or should it be live? And most people really like the live, but I think, I bet if we did a poll of people and asked them whether they liked the recorded where the speaker was in the chat answering questions, some of those speakers were answering questions rapid fire that you can never do in a live session. So I think that worked out really well also. Go ahead.
Well, I think we were about to say the same thing, right? So, right, let's bring on some of our speakers. So we have some of our instructors with us in this closing session. Our real objective here is, this is new for us, but each instructor, we've asked to provide an assignment for their course, because our real focus for this has been, and I'm going to steal Mitch Bach's phrase from the Trip School, which is like an outcome-based, learning. So, for example, in the case of Kate's session, for example, her assignment was, okay, go off and either write a new tour description, or maybe rewrite that tour description that you've been wanting to rewrite for some time, and then kind of circle back. And we're going to host roundtables next week with all of the instructors on to follow up and discuss some of the work that you do. So, Bruce, you want to kind of spend a couple of minutes talking about the roundtables and then bring our presenters?
Yeah, sure. So the idea here is, you all got information overload today. You'll get more tomorrow, and it's all recorded. Not everyone that registered for this event even was at the event. So you have a few days to catch up and, see something again that you want to, kind of do a repeat, because America talks really fast. Mitch talks even faster. And have a good idea of what the content was. And maybe you really loved some of the sessions more than others. But either way, we're going to do roundtables. A roundtable, think of it as a Zoom room. The number of people will just be dependent on how many people register. Registration for these roundtables will start after this session, and it is going to be required that you register for a roundtable at noon Eastern, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and each of them will be by track. So we're going to combine a couple presenters into a roundtable by the 3 tracks that we had, and those roundtables will be presented by the same speakers, but really more interactive and definite Q&A, and also peer-to-peer learning. So the idea is the presenter is going to try to make sure that if someone has a great example of something they did, they can share that with the others. It could also be a good time to share some of the homework that you've gotten if there's time, but the whole idea of sharing homework will be very limited in time. It's really more about you doing an example of something so you learn. That's the whole idea. And each of the presenters has added certainly their presentation notes into their where they are listed in SwapCard. And if they did do a homework assignment, that's also listed. So you can go back to the session and you can find those documents right there under their session in SwapCard. So I'd say without much further ado, why don't we bring on Marika and hear from her. Hello there, Marika.
Hello, how are you guys?
Hey, Bruce. So I was thinking maybe we could bring in all of the speakers and we could have a quick, fast talker contest and see who actually is the fastest talker. Because I think Chris Torres could give everybody here a run for their money.
Well, fast and Scottish combined. And he says 1 beer and he starts to speak faster. So maybe we do that at the end if we have time left.
Okay.
We definitely might. So Marika, how did the day go for you?
Oh, it was fantastic. I saw a lot of engagement in the Q&A during the session, and a lot of really great questions, very particular questions, which I liked because the tactical matters too, right? So it was worth it for me, and it seems like we had a really good amount of feedback.
And what should people think about when they're thinking about the follow-up roundtables next week for your session?
In my opinion, I would think it's a circle back to the expectations. So my hope would be that next week, people will have dug their feet into this and they've tried out some of the things that we've thrown at them, and that they've gotten into their own groove and they've found a methodology and they are experiencing, ways to question ways they do things, their own methodology that they are creating as they go. And then we can help them in that roundtable kind of get over those roadblocks and really streamline their methodology so it becomes native and it becomes easier.
Great. Yeah. Anyone that missed Marika's session, I mean, you talked about like every platform out there that someone could market on. And I know some people were pretty intimidated by that. And you're trying to make that more strategic and make it work for people. So that should be a fantastic roundtable. Any questions from you, Douglas, or you want to take on the next one?
Well, I was just thinking, like, every time we publish an article or do something at Arrival, and I'm like, okay, I've got to post it on Facebook and then Instagram and then, LinkedIn, and I've got to tweak it a bit. So I need to really dive into your session because I've got a lot to learn as well, for how we, it's just endemic for all businesses and whatever you're doing. So thank you very much for putting that session together, Marika.
Thank you. I think it's all about being creative as well. It's not as much numbers, although there are numbers. It's about a way to be creative in your own medium and finding your own way. And I think that's the main takeaway here.
So why don't you give us 2 sentences talking really fast?
No, now I'm under pressure. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, there's just some chat. There's just some chat talking about who would win, you or Mitch. So, okay. Well, maybe we'll let you do that later. But thanks, Marika, for everything today. And everyone can catch it on demand really whenever they want. This is going to be live and wide open for quite a while. And see you on the roundtables next week.
Thank you. Great.
Thanks. Douglas, you want to call someone else in?
Oh, let's see. How about Mitch, since you put those 2 together in competition. So come on, Mitch, the pressure is on.
Oh my gosh, you never judge you never bring a New Yorker into a talking contest because then you never know who's going to win. There you go. To be fair, I would say I think Scottish Chris Torres wins by default because with that accent, you just kind of move your tongue a lot, don't you? It doesn't require the big facial gestures.
So give us you were part of helping us figure this out since Arrival's never done a masterclass. Training is in your blood. It's what you do. And when we came up with the idea of masterclass, you were the first one we called to get some clues from, and you were super helpful. What did you think of the day? I don't know if you were able to see the whole day. So give us a little bit of input about that part.
Well, just like the online courses, masterclass.com, you got all the celebrities and the interesting to deliver short courses, and you didn't even charge $1,000. So it's great.
Wait, does that mean we could charge $1,000 or?
No, even Masterclass gave that up. You can get Anna Wintour for $39 now. I think the joy of this is exactly the response that we all know we often get to events like this is we want another shot at them, another follow-up, another moment to connect with them and ask those follow-up questions. And I love the idea that in a week, everybody has a moment to breathe. We can then do what a teacher would do. For me, it's college, right? You have the lecture and then the seminar. You have the lecture, which is overwhelming. I threw a lot at people with blogging, but now with actual hands-on examples given to me by participants in next week's roundtables, they can come and we sort of break down those lessons, relearn them, but through practical kind of boots on the ground experience of these operators working through some of these questions. So I'm excited about this.
We are as well. We think there's a lot of potential and some ways we're going to be working together on that as well that we'll be ready to announce very soon. So what did you think of your session? You had a lot of engagement, but I'm not sure you were able to pay much attention because unlike others, you were live during your session. Or what would you say to people if they're considering coming to your roundtable next week?
I'm not a marketer that just gets to sit back in their golden offices and just, relax and do things at their own pace. I come from the world where you show up and you're on. And so I do it live every time. I like live, but part of that is it's walking a tightrope and trying to cover a lot. And I will say this, I'm going to have some very choice words with Douglas later, because calling something the ultimate blogging masterclass and then giving you 40 minutes to sort of try and cram that in is impossible. And it's because of what blogging does. Is once you start to pull on those threads, it leads you in every direction of your business, of thinking about what you're trying to accomplish, and then also about the entire customer journey and customer acquisition kind of ecosystem that's out there. So it really is a lot, but what it
next
does,
time we'll just call it maybe the kind of moderately interesting blogging workshop by Mitch. How's that?
I think we could come up with a whole new line of mediocre classes. So just tiered a little bit down where we don't cover as much and you don't leave as satisfied. I love it.
Well, we're going to cover more than a typical workshop with the roundtables back up. And then, that's what Trip School is all about, is courses. So I don't know if you have a course on blogging yet, or this might lead to the demand to have a whole course on blogging. So to be considered for the future. The other thing I want to go ahead and let everyone know is Trip School will be co-locating an event at Arrival Orlando. So Arrival will be in Orlando this October, starting on Tuesday, October the 19th. And Trip School will be there on the 18th and 19th doing a Trip School event, and then that'll go right into Arrival. So more details coming out about that soon as our partnership with Trip School continues. And we have some other exciting announcements that hopefully we can let you know about next week. So all good, unless you have anything else, Mitch?
No, only that I don't have a specific homework assignment in my little event, but I would love to receive anyone and everyone's blog posts, either ones that they know they've worked on or ones that they know have problems. Because again, in the workshop, we're gonna kind of dive in and share screens and look at how to analyze these posts, both on the front customer facing end and also on the back Google robot facing end. So I'm excited.
Great. All right. Well, thanks, man. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Bruce. Thanks, Douglas.
And that's your dog, right? Whose dog?
All right,
That's Douglas's dog.
My dog
All right, well,
wants
let me.
to on the workshop.
I'll call in the next one, which will be, of course, Chris Torres. If you could join us here, Chris. I don't know if you've had a beer or two yet related to your speaking.
Not yet. I literally finished 5-10 minutes ago, so it's not had a chance to go to the fridge yet.
Oh, okay. Because obviously you're in Scotland and it's beer time or happy hour time.
Oh, yes.
So we've traded a lot of notes about having a master class. What were your thoughts of the day?
I thought it was excellent. I actually cleared my diary today so I could sit and watch pretty much all the workshops that I could do, and I loved every one of them. And seeing the engagement that they all had as well was fantastic. America stood out for me. I know I watched, that was one of the first ones I watched, and it was such a great session. And being a content producer myself, talking about the distribution, etc., it was great to see and covered a lot of points. Speed was fine. I'm used to it, so where I come from. But no, it was great. It's just been a great session. It's been a great day so far, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow to see the sessions that I couldn't see today. So
great, Douglas. Questions or comments?
Well, so Chris, I haven't yet seen your session, although I think I've seen earlier versions. I think you've done this. I think a slightly different version at an earlier arrival event. But for me, like in the case of video creation, I mean, you could really do. There are whole courses on how to create, and design great video. So how did you just approach kind of compressing this into 45 minutes, plus an assignment? Like, what are the big themes, or how do you approach a topic like that?
Yeah, well, part of the beginning of it was to highlight, you can use the content, or use the people around you to create the content, use the skill sets that you already have. And I tend to find that a lot of operators tend to struggle with actually just coming up with the ideas. And actually there's plenty of ideas all around them. And on even just how they approach being in front of camera, a lot of people don't like doing that. But I say, think of the camera as one of the tourists or people that you're taking out on tour, as if you're having a conversation with them, being as natural as that in front of camera. That's what will come across as really genuine. And it's, at the end of the day, no matter which equipment you're using, how you're doing it, it's all about the story. And one thing that all operators should be good at is telling the stories, because that's what they do day in, day out, when we're not in the middle of a pandemic. But yeah, so it's really about the story, really about getting that across, and just highlighting why you are good at what you do and how good you are, really, and treating the camera as a person.
So one just question I have to ask. So one of the things that I've actually been doing quite a bit in the pandemic, like I guess we've all been doing this a bit, is cooking a lot more from home. And food TikTok has really opened up just a lot of things for me. I think one of the things I've always been struck by is how intimidating I found a lot of complex recipes and having to read all of this or watch long videos. But then I would see like a 40-second video on how to make pasta carbonara, for example, and suddenly I can do it, and my kids will actually eat it without complaining about the food that I cook. What's been the impact of TikTok on the market? And we talked about this at the opening panel with Shane and America and Alan about this. I feel like there's been this intense compression on the attention span of our consumers. Are you telling your audience now and your operators, hey, make really short videos, or is, like, how do you think about length in the equation here?
It's a great question, and I covered that in the workshop in terms of do both. Some platforms are better for long content. Other platforms like TikTok are obviously better for short content. But the way I would do to cover both bases is to record the long version and then edit that down into the shorter versions for the other platforms, etc. And that will just give you the best of both worlds. And that shorter content can draw them in to then watch the fuller content to know more about what you do and watch the longer videos. So I would say it's actually easy to do both, record the full one and then edit down to do the shorter versions, because it's going to be harder obviously doing that the other way around.
Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to watching your full session tomorrow. So thanks a lot, Chris.
And what should people expect in your roundtable?
Well, I've actually sent them an assignment to create their own video within the next 7 days. So I'm not looking for anything highly polished. I'm more looking for the actual story that they tell, and something within 60 seconds. So if they can convey something about their destination, something about them, some sort of part of the experience or a hidden gem about their area through video, that's what I'm really looking to see. And then we're going to look at the best ones from that, and sort of give my take on it and judge how good I think they are and what I think they could do with tweaking them, etc. So yeah, it's going to be hopefully a good session. Hopefully some good examples will be shown
Fantastic.
in the workshop.
Great. Thanks, Chris. It's always a pleasure. Yeah.
Thank you.
All
We'll
right.
go get that beer or the whiskey.
Douglas, who are you bringing up next?
Let's see. How about Christian?
Hey guys.
Hello,
Hey,
Christian.
how's it going?
So, Christian, first I have to ask, since you are probably the most involved travel or at least tour and activity person with Clubhouse, and there were some questions when people were talking about all the platforms and Clubhouse came up. Definitely a bunch of people that don't know exactly what Clubhouse is, especially if they don't have an iPhone. Can you give us a 1 minute, like what the hell is Clubhouse and why should we care?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty simple. It's just a straight audio platform. There's no video, there's no written, there's no messaging. It's just audio. And I tell people it's like a conference. You go to a conference and you walk up and there's a menu of all the different rooms that are going on. And there's a room over here on Facebook marketing, and there's one over here on distribution. There's one over here on video, and you just join a room and you can sit and listen to that for 4 hours, or you can jump in and jump out in 5 minutes. So I was just telling somebody, I think it's a bit of a trap for coaches who are trying to sell you stuff, because it's full of it. You got to spot them, and then B, the people that always want to learn. So I think there's definitely a chunk of the population that just thrive on learning as much as possible, and that becomes a trap because it's a 24/7 conference. So people that want to pick up new things, it's really addicting.
Just one more question on it, because it also, like, you do a number of them where you're the moderator and you call in really great thought leaders as your speakers. And specifically on Thursday, I think you do tours and activities is your topic, right? So why don't you just spend a minute on that, since we're all about tours and activities?
Yeah, we've had a few now. I think we've had 4 or 5, and we've had different speakers. I mean, the first one we did, we had Johannes from Get Your Guide. We had Rod Cuthbert. We had Luke from Tickets. We've got Alex Grant every week. Stephen Otto's on a lot of them. So we mix it up each week. We change the subject. Tomorrow we're going to talk about hotel distribution. So why people don't distribute more through the hotel channel. So we try and change the subject each week and have different speakers. And it's Q&A. People jump up and ask questions. So it's just very collaborative. And yeah, they've been great. They're at 12 noon. Well, tomorrow it's at 1 p.m. Pacific. And then every week after that, it's at 12 noon. We time them in London time. So it's a bit.
And they can find it by searching for you in Clubhouse if they have an account.
Yeah, the easiest way is actually join the club. Is a Tours and Activities club. If you join that club, which is free, then it'll pop up on your wall. It's funny. I was in a room last night for whatever reason with Marika, talking about marketing charlatans and how to spot them. And one of the people said it's the speed that they speak. So the faster they talk, the more likely they are to be charlatans. So I think Marika and Mitch I've got now, and Chris Torres, obviously, I have pegged into that.
Yeah. So yours was one of the workshops I did not have a chance to see today. How did that go for you?
It was good. I didn't get on the chat. I couldn't get the chat working, so I was just talking into the camera for the whole time. But it was good. I think it's what I do is the distribution piece. I was joking with someone. I find it quite hard to talk about managing your content and distributing your content without just talking about Magpie, because that's everything we do, right? So I didn't. You'd be happy to know, but it's quite difficult not just to make it a kind of a demo. But you'd be happy to know it wasn't an infomercial.
Douglas, any comments?
Well, I just can tell you that I think your colleague Jessica Rebstock joined and was actually terrific, because there were a lot of great questions in the Q&A, but she was amazing and went through and answered all of them with aplomb. So Jessica, if you're out there, just a thank you to you for stepping in while Christian was stumbling around trying to find a link to the platform that I had emailed him just like a few minutes before the session began. No worries though. Thanks so much, Christian, for doing it.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, guys.
So what do we expect in the roundtable next week? What are you thinking about doing?
I'd like to do a couple of case studies, and we haven't got that much time, but just to grab a couple of people and really drill down on what they're doing and what they're not doing. I think people are confused now with all the openings and everyone's confused as to what they should be doing now and who's going to drive volume this year. So I'd like to grab a couple of people if they can volunteer and do some case studies and work out where they should be distributing and come up with a little plan for them. That's what everyone's asking is, what do I need to be doing for this year?
Yeah.
Hey, Christian, just a really quick question. We just wrote a news story today about about Google winding down Reserve. You're obviously right in the middle of distribution. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't want to do the transaction. I don't know how much they've announced. Actually, the transaction was problematic. It's not generally what they do, so I think they're going to go back to their core a little bit, and they want to sell advertising and they want to help organize the world's information. So there's another plan to follow, and I think it's probably a great thing for the operators.
Really, you think? I mean, I would think that when more of an advertising focused model, that's an opportunity for the OTAs to really just buy up all of that advertising real estate. It's tough for individual operators to compete with the marketing budgets of a Viator or GetYourGuide, right?
Yeah, but Google also cares, and maybe they care for the wrong reasons, but they want it to be a broad market, right? So they're happy to take the money from the OTAs that will pay them, but the broader they can make the market, the more advertisers they have. So they give everyone a little bit of free traffic, which they do currently, and then hopefully they drag more people in to do some paid as well. So they do want to make it broad. They don't want to have everyone go through OTAs. That's not in their interest. They just want to get. They've always stuck to their mission, right, which is to organize the world's information. And as long as operators will give them that information directly, Google will take it and they'll happily distribute that. So I think it's a good thing all around.
Well, definitely a topic for a future Clubhouse.
Absolutely.
I was thinking Orlando, actually, Douglas. I was thinking Orlando, where things really start to shake out. So we'll have to leave it there as well. So just one more shout out for Christian. Christian's been a great friend of Arrival since we launched. And for those of you who were not at the Unarrival in Berlin, Christian was the guy who kind of took that on and ran with it last March. And we really appreciated that he was able to keep the people that were there in a great program. People that went to Unarrival actually thought it was an awesome event. So we appreciate that, Christian, and everything you do for the industry and the friend of Arrival that you are. So thanks.
No, thank you too. Thanks for everything you guys do as well. Appreciate it.
We'll talk to you again soon. All right, man.
Thanks, guys.
And last but certainly not least is Ryan from PhotoFlow. Excuse me, Ryan. Say it for a second. Ryan O'Grady is the CEO of PhotoFlow and maybe a little bit newer on the scene than some of our rock stars that we had today, but super highly energetic and really had a great presentation today. How did that go?
Yeah, definitely one of the happiest presenters I have ever seen at an Arrival event.
If you join my workshop, you'll understand me. Okay, so no, there's a lot of fast talkers. Like I felt like I was left out of that, which is like uncommon for my company. So I'm usually most guilty of fast talk.
Maybe Mitch could launch a new course on how to talk fast. That would be of interest. Just an idea. Throwing an idea out there to Mitch, out into the Mitch stratosphere.
So Ryan, tell us how the day went for you overall.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I watched a number of sessions, as well, and for me, there's a lot of like incredible speakers and brain power around, generating meaningful content, through those channels in which like your business controls. And so I thought like, well, why do we capture content? It's to reach, a new audience with our brand to convert sales. And so I for me, I went in a bit of a different direction, which I hope complemented the other speakers, really talking about, how can we get, our guests, our customers to effectively share our brand and reach a target market with that trusted message, kind of day in and day out. So I wanted to go real simplistic. Like I wanted to just right or wrong. I'm looking forward to the feedback, but I wanted to just give something that anybody could just could actually act on. And so, but overall, yeah, like I love listening to these other guys. It's always, and girls, and I always learn something, and it fuels my ideas around the stuff that I like to talk about too. Yeah.
Well, I think your whole message that you shared with me over the last year about the fact that most customers want to just take their own photos, their own selfies, their own photos, and that just operators kind of need to take back control over their own imagery was a big message that you pushed again, and it's such an important one.
Yeah, well, like let's face it. I don't care what type of tour activity or attraction you operate. Your customers are getting content of themselves. Like they're capturing content and they're sharing it. And so when they're sharing it through channels in which your target audience exists. But does it include your brand? Does it actually create any meaningful input? And I think America said that best. We need to reach a new audience with our brand to convert sales. So it's something really quite simplistic, but it's definitely a new paradigm in which we look at, souvenir photography. We've often thought of it as a product in which we can sell because people value their memories so much. We're going to take those and we're going to sell it as a product, to our consumers, where, this is like, I think I invite you to think about it a little bit differently. It's the most valuable marketing media that our customers are willing to share for free to the best possible target audience for our business. And that's their friends and followers. And really at that point, your consumers are choosing the channels in which they want to share it. And those channels exist your target audience, right? So it's definitely a complementary message. Like that's really where my experience lies, in that earned media. And I think it really complements when the other messages in which other presenters are talking about, in creating great content for those channels in which you control. But I really wanted to shed some light on and provide specifics on what consumers are doing to gain marketing outcomes for you. So yeah, it was fun for me to complement the messages that the other presenters shared.
Great.
Yeah.
What do we expect with your roundtable?
Yeah, for me, like I said, I try to just get real simplistic. Like there's one photo that everyone misses from their vacation. It's just the simplest one. It's people together, smiling, looking good with their family. Like we, fortunately, as activity owners or operators, have the ability to take people's favorite memory. Like remember, people pay for the experience. They want to leave with that memory, right? So they're investing in this experience to create a memory, and we have an opportunity to capture their favorite memory, right? Which then converts for branded outcomes and conversions of sales. So, I wanted to break it down and just focus on one photo. I want to see that photo from all the people that attended my workshop. Just like, what is the photo that creates the best experience? And then we'll talk that through. And then also, if you feel like you have opportunities to take more customer photos throughout the experience, I've given them kind of an operating procedure to create a consistent approach around that, right? Because we want to be able to provide a consistent service to all of our customers day in and day out. So I'm looking to see who brings that to the table, reviewing the content that they're planning to provide to their consumers, and providing advice, guidance, or expertise or direction on how to maybe make that a little bit easier or more consistent. Yep.
That's fantastic. And I think all of the people we had here today and the ones that weren't able to make it, the roundtables are going to be super valuable. It's going to be a whole different kind of presentation format, and really appreciate all of you that are doing that. So let's call back everybody who you were just looking at. They're all still with us. I think this is our group, and we just have a couple of minutes left, so we'll do a little speed round.
Okay, guys.
Good to see. I'm just so we'll do no, not kind of speed round, just a speed round of one question, and I'll call on each of you because we're all in different orders, obviously here, and give me the best answer you have. I assume that each of you saw at least one session that was not your own session. So I would like to hear, what was your best idea you heard from someone else's session? Just one, quick, one sentence or less, the best idea you heard from someone else's session. Marika, I can see you shaking your head, so I'm going to let you go first.
I hopped into a few. There was so many great takeaways. I really liked Mitch. He had noted a few tools to come up with topics for your content, and those were golden. And then in Chris's, he covered the aspect ratio, and I think that that's super important as well. So those are my 2 takeaways.
Okay, but I asked for one. So we'll let you slide. You were the first. So Mitch, America mentioned you first. So go ahead. Your best takeaway.
First of all, Ryan, I did not appreciate you mocking me like that. I think the hat tip goes to both America and Chris for giving the tools. I think it's about actionable ways in which all of this stuff exists out there. And sometimes we just need a voice in a box to tell us what to use, because you need direction with so much of this. Otherwise, you kind of flounder around the internet and don't find anything clear. So, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, Chris, you've been mentioned 2 out of 2 here. What was the best thing you saw?
Well, like I say, I loved Marika's one, and to be honest, Mitch's as well. Some of the tools that was mentioned in Mitch's one, as Marika says, I didn't even know there was a couple of little tools in there as well. So I've been looking them up as well. So it's even I'm learning from these sessions, which has been great. So, yes, I would say that. So some of the tools that Mitch mentioned.
You're never too old to learn, right, Chris?
Nope. Constantly learning.
Yeah, Christian, you have one one takeaway that really stood out.
I have to admit that I've been back to back all day, so I haven't listened to the others yet. I've got them plugged in for this afternoon, but I know Marika would have covered it. But create content once and then repurpose, I think, is something that everyone needs to do, because we're all overwhelmed with how much content we should be producing. So
yeah, that was clear for sure of all the different channels. Ryan, did you have a chance to check out other sessions?
Yeah, I did, and I have to credit Jeremiah because he's not here. Right. So I did watch his, and he talked about, like, I don't know, just something really simplistic, but like changing content out based on seasonality. Like he was actually applying data to that and outcomes. I thought that was just something really simple and actionable. And he talked about, I can't say 2 things, but he says book now. He was saying it sounds lazy and inauthentic. I don't know. I thought that was, or no, sorry. Maybe that was America. I'm looking at my notes, but so yeah, I did too. I'm guilty. I liked all the sessions I attended.
That's all right. Yeah. And you can't listen to Jeremiah without hearing about data. That's just who he is. Yeah, for sure. Douglas, did you, I know you were probably bouncing back and forth between a lot of things. Were you able to glean one thing that really stood out for you?
Well, there were so many things. I would just say one thing that actually has stuck with me over the course of the day as I've been listening to everything is a comment that Shane made at the opening panel where we discussed should we do long form, short form? Should it be this platform or that that platform? Should it be video or audio or whatnot? And he made this comment. Really, it's whether it's long or it's short, it's got to be good, right? The focus is really, on quality, and so that's just kind of stuck with me as I've, kind of thought through this, and all the great ideas that speakers have presented today.
Great. Well, we are about to get kicked out of our session. Actually, it looks like we have a couple minutes, but we can end here anyway. I just want to remind everyone that, depending on what time zone you're in, take advantage of networking with other attendees. There's a few hundred of you in here, whether you're live in here now or there will be attendees that kind of come and go over the next few days. Easy enough to find them in the attendee roster. You can filter by the way you want to filter, whether it's geography or the type of company they are. So take advantage of that. That's certainly a big part of an Arrival event, is the whole networking side. And come back tomorrow to see what you missed and get ready for the roundtables next week. They are open for registration. They should be open as of now, I believe. And if not now, then certainly in the next couple minutes. So you can reserve the roundtables that you want to see next Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at noon Eastern. Thank you guys all for joining us here. Thanks everyone in the audience. Oh, Douglas,
wait,
go ahead.
I think we should do this roundup tomorrow as like a, well, I'm mid-afternoon here on the East Coast. It's going to be later at night for those in Europe, but we should make this a happy hour when we wrap up tomorrow, so we can all do this with a drink of our choice when we close things up tomorrow. What do you say?
Is that okay with all you guys? Yeah. Okay. And we'll have to get the other presenters to join in. So, all right. Anything else from anybody?
Bruce, what was your takeaway? Did you answer the question that you asked all of us?
I did not answer it because I was the asker, and Douglas will tell you that the moderator doesn't have to answer the question. The biggest one I got was this thing about so many platforms. And someone asked the question in that first session, there's so many platforms, I can't keep up with all of them. And then I asked you in your session about how do you keep up with all of them? And your answer was kind of, you got to look at all of them. And I know you got to look and try all of them, but, you got to figure out which platforms to worry about, to focus on. Is TikTok right for you? Well, it depends on your demographics, right? Is it Instagram and Facebook? Where do you go? So I think there's still a lot of questions out there, and that's a big question. And then answer is which platforms really need to be looked at the most. And then video, of course, and everything that Chris talked about, and video is on all these platforms. So should I worry more about video on Facebook or words and pictures on Facebook? And all those kind of questions, I still don't have answers. So I'll need to come to the roundtables.
I just
All
want
right,
to say,
everybody.
I think the rule for all of these conferences and information is it's incremental gains. And I'm just a big believer in 1% better every day. So I think you get overloaded with so much stuff to do, right? So if everyone can wake up and do 10 minutes or half an hour or whatever each day, that's how you improve your company. So I'm just a big believer in that, especially when there's so much to do.
Yep.
Spot
That sounds
on.
good. And hopefully we can see you all in Orlando in October. That's our plan. Get vaccinated.
Yeah.
Much rather see you there vaccinated than not. And we'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Thanks, everyone.
Everyone.
Thank you.
See
Take
ya.
care.